When did John first go to sea, Elaine? Do you know how old he was and what was his first ship?
John was 16 and he got a job aboard a ship called the Pacific. I think she's either Swede or Norwegian, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Did a trip to Adelaide, and on his arrival back in Sydney, his old man went aboard and took him off.
Yeah.
He was going no further in that ship. If he was going to go to sea, he went to sea on the Australian coast.
Oh, right, yeah. So he didn't take him off because he was going to sea, it was just he was going on an Aussie ship that he wanted him to go. Yeah.
Well, he didn't want him to go overseas, you know, I think he'd, being a seaman himself, had the experience of food, accommodation, all sorts of...
and what year was that, do you know?
23, have to be 1939.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And can you remember what type of ship John told you it was?
Well, it was just general cargo.
Yeah.
I just don't know exactly whether she was a bulky or carried products or what, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And, well, we worked out what he chose a seagoing career for because his father and that went to sea, didn't it? So it ran in the family.
Ran in the family, that's right.
Yeah.
And his brother went to sea as well, Vince.
Yeah. And in those days, I suppose, if he ever talked about them, the conditions would have been pretty lousy. Like,
pretty gross.
Yeah.
I think it was an eye-opener to him. Crowded accommodation, forecastle head and things like that, you know, just pretty rough conditions as far as eating and utensils and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Can you remember the different types of ships John talked about that he was on? I know there's one there I've seen his discharge from. It's a pretty famous ship.
The Queen Mary.
Yeah.
Yes, he was on her for about 18 months, I think. She was a troop ship in those days, in 1942. Running over to Europe. They brought Italian prisoners of war back, some German prisoners of war. He used to say the Germans, they used to keep them pretty well confined, but the Italians were pretty good types of blokes who used to have more freedom on the decks. And
can you remember what he was on there?
Deck boy.
He was deck boy on the QM,
and ordinary seaman.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would have been ordinary seaman.
Ordinary seaman there, yes. Right. Yeah. He's, can you remember any of the other different types of ships that he was on?
Well, he was on a ship called the Doble. She was on the North Coast Steam Navigation Company, I think it was. She was part sail, part coal burner.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was on just all sorts of different types of cargoes and running up and down the coast overseas.
Did he ever talk about some of the characters he come across? And you've been in the office as secretary for a while. You'd have known quite a few of these same characters?
Well, we had some wonderful characters out of Newcastle. Of course, he knew many more than I did. And blokes that shipped out of other ports. He was always good mates with the Healy brothers and Johnny and Vince and them. And I think they, in their day, were characters.
Yeah.
Another character that comes to mind is Bill Bodenham, and I think we all know Bill.
Yeah, we all know Bill.
Yes, and Dennis Booth. Scouse, yeah. Dennis is always a character, and he had his 80th birthday just recently.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that,
he's still a character.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. I was with Dennis on the Millers MacArthur, and we're in the berth in Adelaide, the tanker berth. Forget the name of it now, anyway. And there used to be a wine, the vineyards up the road, and the mate this day ordered these couple of cartons of wine in the gallon bottles. And there was me and Scouse out on deck, and the mate said, "Can you give me a hand to bring this on board for me?" So we did. And as we were walking up the catwalk, we're going, "Just here, Scouse," there's a flagging it. So we got the carton up to the mate's cabin, and as we're walking back down the deck, we hear this, "You pair of bastards!" bastards coming. So there we were playing football, running down the catwalk with this flag into the mate's wine. I think he ended up giving us a drink of it, but he didn't give us the lot. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you another story with the wine. When we were in the office, I think that's one of the ESC, I'm not sure it was the north or the south ESC, but Kenny Swift and Charlie Brooks were on, and they used to bring us up some wine from Tasmania.
Yeah.
And used to bring it home, and it sat in the cupboard, up top on those cupboards up there, and it leaked after a while because they were only in plastic containers.
Yeah.
And it was that powerful.
It ate the plastic.
It ate through the plastic and dripped all down through the cupboards and what have you. But then John's brother died down in Geelong, and he had to fly down there, and Dennis hopped into the office for a few days, and there was a container of wine in there, and
wasn't there when John come back?
We celebrated Vince's demise with getting stuck into one of those bottles of wine. Yes, Dennis would remember that.
Now John had a relatively short period at sea as such, then he got elected into the Sydney branch, wasn't it, first?
Yes, he was offside of Barney Smith. He was elected in 1949 and commenced working as the Assistant Secretary in Sydney in January 1950.
Yeah.
And he was there for 3 years before he moved up to Newcastle. Yeah.
There's a bit of a story going around about his first stop work meeting he fronted in Newcastle. What was he told? Don't bother unpacking your bags or something, wasn't it?
Oh, there was a few larrikins. They resented an interloper coming up from Sydney because they thought there was enough talent around the local area to move into Franklin's position. And they indicated they weren't happy about him coming into Newcastle. And John said, well, I'm not very happy about coming up here. I think Newcastle's the arsehole of the world, and I'll go back to Sydney any day. But anyway, there was a few good blokes, another character on the coast. Joe Armstrong, he got up and, indicated that John should be given a go, and well, he stayed up here for 35 years.
Yeah, giving quite a few years go.
That's right, unopposed.
Yeah. And in the time he was up here, there's a few things that he sort of got happening, especially with the John Hunter Hospital.
Yes, he can take a lot of credit, or the Maritime unions can take quite a lot of credit for the establishment of the John Hunter Hospital, the oncology unit set up at the Mater, and eventually the Stockman ferries being reinstated on the harbour here in Newcastle. They were going to take them off. But,
and tell us how that came about.
What?
About getting the oncology department.
Oh, the oncology department. Well, John knew there was a need for something to happen in Newcastle because people from Newcastle had to attend Sydney for a week or more at a time for their radiology treatment, their chemotherapy, all that sort of stuff. And also included in those were a number of seamen, Rusty Madigan, another good bloke on the coast, Toby Watt from the tugs, all spent time down in Sydney, and the Maritime Union started to put pressure on the Rand government at the time. And we had the opportunity, or at least the opportunity arose where we had, I think it might have been 62 ships outside, all waiting to load coal. There was delays everywhere, and Rand wasn't coming to the party for better conditions here in Newcastle for health and what have you. And the Maritime Unions took action around the ships and kept the ships outside, refused them entry into the port. Rand was getting very upset, and John said, well, we'll start moving your ships when, if you come to the party on what we need for better health services for the people of Newcastle. And eventually it did, but there were other people, you know, that didn't have the industrial clout that the maritime unions had.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to put that sort of pressure on.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, and there would have been a few other disputes that John was over the years would have been involved in, just normal little everyday shipboard disputes and that too. But was there any other major ones that stick to mind?
Oh, offhand, Wayne.
You would have had the Ampol dispute, Utah,
right,
all them ones
yes, there. Yeah, but of course we're involved, Seaman were involved Australia-wide. Every port was doing its job, you know.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
And he also became president of the union, didn't he?
John was the presiding officer of the Committee of Management.
Yeah.
As such, the union didn't have a position.
Yeah.
But he was the presiding
officer. Yeah. Sorry, I was wrong when I said presiding officer. You know. Yeah.
Oh, well, we've got to be...
In his time, can you remember when he was in office at the highs, he had some good times and bad times, like some highs and lows? Like I said, the highs would have been when he got the oncology department. Was there any sort of real lows in that too?
Oh, offhand, I really can't. You know, you're always disappointed when you can't get the ship owners to come to the party to better the conditions of members. But he took everything in his stride, and you know, it didn't stop him from, if you don't win today, well, we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Move on.
Yeah, it's true. And the Seamen's Union of Australia, what did that mean to John?
Well, it was his life, it was his work, it was his love. There wouldn't have been any a prouder member anywhere more proud than John of being a member and of being able to participate and, you know, do the job he did. And he was sort of the man for the job here in Newcastle, and he held a lot of respect by the membership and from the people in Newcastle too, because he helped out on quite a number of issues. Other unions, you know, what Seaman did in support of quite a number of the unions. Yeah.
I still remember after just on 41 years, the first time I ever met John, and his first words with me, "What do you think you're doing sitting out there? Get your ass off the table." Being the cheeky, hairy-ass deck boy I jumped up on the bloody, on the counter or something and sat down there. He proceeded, no uncertain terms, to tell me to get off there. And well, who is this bastard?
Yes.
40, just on 41 years ago, that'd be, And realising that you didn't go to these, the stop work meetings, but you'd have to know what the importance for Seaman and that was of stop work meetings.
Well, I think the stop work meetings were one of the most important things within the union itself. You know, it meant that the seamen, unlike any other union anywhere, I'd say, were kept abreast of what was going on within the union. The struggles the union was facing, the different ships, the different disputes, the political matters that were going on, not only nationally but internationally, and seamen were just kept informed on every aspect of their life, industrially and politically. And it was a very important, still is.
That's true.
Very, very important to the union, its membership.
And can you remember when seamen that were when we had a roster and how seamen were picked up for the jobs and that?
This is our roster system.
Yeah, our roster system,
Yeah, we used to have, Anzac Lobley used to run the pickup in Newcastle. And he was the VO up until December 64. He retired from the office. And we used to get the call through from the ship owners, and we used to take note of what ships they wanted crew for, the type of ABs or buckos, deck boys, engine room ratings, donkeymen, or, you know, whatever it was, and the unemployed seamen would attend the pickup in the just in the yard of the shipping office. Their jobs would be written up on the board, you know, ship whatever wanted or whatever rating they required, and the blokes would be there, and you could take your pick.
Yeah.
If you were number one, you had the pick. If you didn't want a job, number two would go and have the choice, and if nobody wanted a job in that ship, you'd be allocated.
Number one got allocated, not Shanghai. Just jumping back for a minute, can you just run past me again when Billy Timmins, the ship owner's rep, delivered a letter to John from the crew of the Iron Monarch, the chieftain class Iron Monarch, not the later day Iron Monarch. Yes. Right, yeah. What was in that letter?
Well, it was a letter of thanks for John, but they still weren't happy with the result. There was a big campaign on, amongst other things, for instant coffee. Mm. And it was agreed by BHP that instant coffee would be put aboard the ship, and the crew agreed to sail. So when they saw the coffee that had been put aboard, it was in the jars, you know, what they call that coffee?
Chicory or something.
Chicory, that's right.
Crap.
Bushels, chicory, or whatever it was, And because by this time the gangway's up and they're underway and what have you, but the ship owner's rep, Billy Timmins, at the time was had just come down. They passed him a letter as he was coming off the ship, penned by Swift and Brooks, thanking John for his efforts, but they wanted Nescafe, 43 beans to the cup, sufficient without waste.
And eventually down the years they got it, didn't they?
They did, very shortly afterwards actually, yes.
And there was another one about the bread or something?
Oh, well, the old Iron Monarch was very well renowned. Everybody used to reckon they had 42 varieties of bread on board that ship. They had their buns and their rolls and their bread and their croissants and God knows what, Do
you remember when Schedule C came into effect and the effect it had on seamen? Where we had you had the allocated port and that. Before then you could ship out any port.
Well, that's right. Yes, but you could still request a transfer, and seamen did. Yeah. And went from port to port. Still, there wasn't too great a restriction. It just depended on the quotas within the different ports, if they were filled or overfilled or underfilled or what have you.
Yeah, that's right.
But the shipping office took over the allocation of jobs to seamen, but still run on the similar basis to what our roster was.
Which was a vast difference to the old bull system.
Oh, that's right. Yes. At least you were in line for a job, which you knew you'd eventually get, rather than be at the behest of the ship owner's rep who either liked you or didn't like you, or the mate who was ever there looking for crew and what have you. And
can you remember in 1972, one of the greatest things that ever happened to seamen came into being, the Seamen's Retirement Fund?
That's right, That was a big achievement within the maritime industry, and I think also too, I'm not sure whether it was around about that time, but it was the seamen's wages going into the bank rather than going into the hands of the seamen on board ship. Because the wives got a fair deal then, a fairer deal. Yes, no, that SRF has been a tremendous achievement for seamen, particularly seamen today. In the days when it was first come into being, and I suppose all things are relevant anyway, but I think it was 75 cents a week that they could contribute, plus an amount up to $10 or something, I think, and then $20. I don't know what the situation is, and they could put in so much on the 1st or 31st of May each year, a lump sum toward their retirement.
Give the seamen the right to walk down the last gang with a lot of dignity, rather than with their last pay packet.
That's right, and some of the sums I've heard today that seamen are walking out of the industry with, it's tremendous.
Alan Bond, eat your heart out. We're nearly at the end, so you see, it's not all painful, was it? What was John's last ship?
His last ship was the Iron Sturt. He retired December 31st to 87.
Yeah.
And I think he picked up the Sturt around about the March.
Yeah.
And he picked it up at a berth in Sydney, where he picked up his first ship on the Australian coast.
Yeah, right. So he picked up his last
his
ship,
last ship at the same berth in Sydney. But don't ask me what that berth was.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
But he stayed there for...
I remember when I heard that John had retired and he'd gone back to sea. Being the cheeky little bastard I still was all them years later, couldn't resist ringing you up and saying, "Where's John, Elaine?" He was on the Iron Sturt. I said, "Where's the Iron Sturt at the moment?" I think you said to me, "He's at anchor in Stockton Bight." So I started to piss myself laughing. I think you asked me why was I laughing, and I said, "Well, what we used to do in the good old days, we'd get straight on the phone to John and say, John, we're at anchor. We're running low on water, get us alongside." And sure as shit, a couple of hours later he'd be up and I think I then said, "Who's he got to get on the phone to say, get me alongside?" But yeah, it's well, that's just about it, Elaine, unless you got anything else you'd like to add to it.
No, not really, not about John's life, but or, for anybody that's interested. I had 26 years in the office. There wasn't a day that I didn't enjoy working for the union. I've met some wonderful people, some beautiful comrades, a lot of whom have passed on now, but it's been the highlight of my life, working for the Seamen's Union and the Seaman, or the Seaman anyway, because they are the union.
I remember the last time I seen John was when he had the wake before he wanted to see, I think he was going to turn up, see his mates turn up.
That's right.
And the, I don't know, he was the manager of the Workers' Club, was he? Or whatever. He came out and said that they were naming whatever auditorium it was in honour of John.
Yeah, their number one auditorium was going to have a name change, and it is now
the John Brennan room.
The John Brennan room in the Workers' Club. Yeah. Or the Panthers Club.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's quite a nice thing to have done.
Yeah. No, it was too, mate.